What if you woke up one morning and the sun was already setting, just 6 hours after it rose? What if Earth, our familiar, steady home, suddenly decided to spin twice as fast? It sounds like science fiction, but this single change would unleash a cascade of events so dramatic. It would reshape our world in ways we can barely imagine. Our planet currently spins at about 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, giving us our 24-hour day and a stable rhythm of life. This rotation dictates our weather, shapes our oceans, and governs the very cycles of life. But if that speed doubled, the finely tuned balance we depend on would shatter. First, the most immediate and obvious change. Our days would be cut in half. A full rotation would now take only 12 hours. You'd get 6 hours of daylight and 6 hours of darkness. Your internal body clock, evolved over millennia to a 24-hour cycle, would be thrown into chaos. Imagine perpetual jet lag, a constant feeling of disorientation as your body struggles to adapt to this frantic new pace. But this is just the beginning. The real chaos would start in our atmosphere. The Earth's spin generates something called the Coriolis effect. It's an invisible force that deflects moving objects, like wind and water currents. It's why hurricanes spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern. If you double the Earth's rotational speed, you dramatically strengthen this force. The air, which isn't firmly attached to the ground, would be whipped into a frenzy. Gentle breezes would become constant, howling gales. Weather patterns that we understand and predict would become completely unstable. This amplified Coriolis effect would give birth to monstrous weather systems. Hurricanes, which are essentially giant, spinning heat engines, would become larger, more powerful, and far more frequent. We're talking about superstorms that would make today, as Category 5 hurricanes, look like a spring shower. Wind speeds would reach unprecedented levels, potentially hundreds of miles per hour on a regular basis. These winds wouldn't just be confined to storms. They would be a constant feature of our new world, a relentless gale sweeping across the continents. These winds could be strong enough to uproot trees, flatten buildings, and make it impossible for anything to fly, not birds, not planes. The entire globe would be trapped in a permanent planet-wide windstorm. Global climate patterns would be completely redrawn. The stable air cells that create our deserts and rainforests would break apart. The equator would get even hotter and wetter, while the poles would get colder. The jet streams, those high-altitude rivers of air that steer our weather, would accelerate, carrying storms across the globe with terrifying speed. Areas that were once fertile farmlands could become barren deserts, and arid regions could be hit with constant torrential downpours. The climate we know would cease to exist, replaced by a violent and unpredictable new regime. And it's not just the air that would be affected. The oceans would respond dramatically, too. The increased rotational speed would create a powerful centrifugal force, essentially pulling everything away from the center of rotation. This force would be strongest at the equator. As the Earth spins faster, ocean water would be flung outward, surging toward the equatorial regions. It would be like a permanent global high tide at the planet's waistline. The consequences would be catastrophic. The water level at the equator could rise by several hundred feet. Entire countries and major cities in equatorial regions like Singapore, Quito in Ecuador, or Nairobi in Kenya would be completely submerged. The Amazon basin would become a massive inland sea. Meanwhile, as water is pulled away from the poles, new land would emerge. The Arctic Ocean might shrink dramatically, and parts of northern Europe and Canada would see their coastlines expand by miles. This would redraw the world map, creating a massive, continuous ocean belt around the middle of the planet and turning the continents we know into drastically different shapes. The world would be divided by a superocean that is practically impassable. For life on Earth, this new reality would be an apocalyptic struggle for survival. Humans, animals, and plants are all exquisitely adapted to the 24-hour day, the current climate, and the force of gravity we experience. Disrupting this is a recipe for disaster. Our biological clocks or circadian rhythms would be completely scrambled. This affects everything from our sleep patterns to our hormone regulation and metabolism. The resulting chronic fatigue and stress would have devastating health consequences for the entire human population. Animals would face a similar crisis. Migratory patterns that rely on the sun and seasons would be thrown off. Nocturnal and diurnal animals would find their hunting and foraging times cut in half and disrupted. Entire ecosystems would collapse. Plant life would also suffer. With only 6 hours of sunlight, photosynthesis, the very foundation of most life on Earth, would be severely limited. Crop yields would plummet, leading to global famine on a scale never before seen. Agriculture as we know it would become impossible in many regions. The combination of extreme winds, unpredictable weather, and shortened daylight would create a world where growing food is a constant battle. Even our own bodies would feel the change physically. The increased centrifugal force at the equator would make you feel slightly lighter. It wouldn't be enough to let you float away, but it would be noticeable. Your weight could decrease by a small percentage. Conversely, near the poles, you'd feel closer to your normal weight as the effect is weaker there. But this small novelty would be little comfort in a world falling apart. Ultimately, a world spinning twice as fast would be a world teetering on the brink of collapse. The delicate systems that make our planet a habitable oasis in the vastness of space, our atmosphere, our oceans, our climate are all interconnected, all balanced on the knife edge of our planet's stately 24-hour spin. Speeding it up wouldn't just give us shorter days. It would unravel the very fabric of our world. It's a terrifying thought experiment, but it serves as a powerful reminder of how precious and fragile our planet as balance truly is. The steady turning of the Earth is a silent gift, a cosmic constant that allows life to flourish. We are living in a moment of perfect equilibrium, a delicate dance of physics and biology that we should never take for granted. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into a faster world fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the what-ifs of our universe.